I have so many options. You have so many options, so many choices. What's a typical day look like? You wake up in the morning, you check your cell phone because that's your alarm clock. And you're scrolling on your favorite social media accounts, and then you stop because you find a sexy, scintillating, provocative advertisement. Advertisements for products, services that make your life better. You get up out of bed, you head downstairs, you turn on the TV, and there they are again, more advertisements for food, for medicine, for drink that make your life happier, healthier, and for our children. You see, the media keeps us informed of current events. They educate us on our past, but they also motivate us to push us past our comfort zone, past our fears, to potentially transform into those glamorous role models we look up to. The media gives us the opportunity to transform from Clark Kent to Superman, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. I feel I can save lives and catch that falling baby from the burning apartment. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. Martin Luther King said that, and I believe it. You see, with all these meaningful products and services and choices, we're continually moving forward in our health, in our quality of life. We're super grateful for the last century of advancements in modern medicine. Antibiotics can now cure infections in days or hours. Surgery, organ removal, C-sections, all saving lives. There are numerous nonprofits raising millions and billions for a cure for disease. And if the cure is not here today, it's just around the corner. Vaccines are improving immunity and also curing disease. And for humans who have debilitating gut ailments, who are sometimes in the bathroom 30, 40, 50, literally 60 times a day, there are immunosuppressants and biologics that can metaphorically break those shackles, flush the toilet, and get them back out into the real world, improving their quality of life. America spends more on healthcare than any other nation. We are obviously a superpower in health. You know, I wondered, would I get up here and not rustle any feathers? Or would I get up here and speak my truth and speak what I've found from my research? Because today we have the opportunity to celebrate free speech, to celebrate ideas that spread. And if I was Clark Kent, you would see me dashing into that telephone booth, transforming into the Cape Crusader, using my solar vision to see through the facade, to see through what the advertisements and media are telling us. Because the unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final say in reality. Martin Luther King also said that. And this is my truth, and while it's not always easy to be truthful, and sometimes it's physically painful, I'm going to keep telling the truth until the pain is no longer present, because telling the truth is healing. So for years I worked as an engineer, award-winning engineer, serving our national security with government agencies we're all familiar with. My health significantly declined. I resigned from that industry to figure it out on my own. 16 years ago, I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, specifically ulcerative colitis, similar to Crohn's disease. When I was diagnosed, it was kind of a niche thing. I was by far the youngest person in the doctor's office. Nowadays, it's a fad, it's a trend, it's an epidemic. 10 million worldwide are suffering, 3 million in the US, and worst of all, children are being diagnosed more than ever before. When I was diagnosed, I was told diet doesn't matter. For a digestive disease where inflammatory foods pass over your digestive tract. I've been told that over and over again. Just last year, an 18-year-old woman who was diagnosed with Crohn's disease here at a local hospital was told the same thing, as if food being medicine is a foreign concept. You see, I interviewed a doctor recently, and this is what he shared. He shared that the two most important things he learned in medical school were on the first day. He learned, one, that 50%, half of what he would be taught in the coming years would be proven incorrect in the years to come. And he learned, two, he wouldn't know which half. So I've had numerous ER visits, and I've been given opioids and steroids and painkillers and prednisone, and they're all helpful, but they don't come without short and long-term adverse effects. Things like decreasing immunity, things like sedating you from living an optimal life. You see, I want curative treatment, not managed care. We're all familiar with the opioid prescription problem in the United States. Thankfully, I did not succumb to that. So television or tell-lie vision makes us think that those Doritos cracking will attract that hot girlfriend, that drinking Budweiser will attract that model, that Coca-Cola makes America beautiful. Is it the sugar or the high fructose corn syrup? So the medicines that are on TV, yes, they're helpful, and they do increase quality of life, and they do help the patients, but at what cost? Increased disease, decreased life expectancy. It's the incestuous relationship between media, between industry, regulatory agencies, and deep-pocketed lobbyists, combined with immoral marketing, which is short-sighted on today's monetary gains for today's health and tomorrow's health. Tony the Tiger, America's biggest drug dealer, targeting children. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day, or is it an industry-created illusion? You know, there are only 2 countries in this world that allow pharmaceutical direct-to-consumer marketing. We are one of them. 70% of advertisements on TV are pharmaceutical. This was recently released by the CEO of Fox in a non-election year. So our world is full of fake news and alternative facts. But at least we have science, right? The science is settled. Well, why is it that 50%, half of published studies, even those in the top-tier academic journal, cannot be repeated with the same conclusion by an industrial lab? This is publication bias, danger to medical safety, danger to us. It's called fuzzy medicine. Because there are sick hypochondriacs everywhere looking online for solutions to what's going on. We all go to the internet first when we're sick. And if we're being misled and doctors are being misled, where does that leave us? And what's the consequence? A slap on the wrist, a financial fine? But is there any accountability to returning back to normal? Just look at the recent news. You know, for the first time in 2 decades, the life expectancy of Americans has been shown to decline. Many are predicting that our children will not outlive us. In Syria recently, there was chemical warfare, deplorable on all levels. Well, there's also chemical warfare here in the United States. Just take a magnifying glass, go to the grocery store, look at those nutritional ingredients, and then look in some of the scientific literature. It causes disease or worse. So why do I care? Well, because I almost died at the hands of well-meaning, misinformed health professionals, doctors, and physicians, maybe being miseducated by immoral marketing. It wasn't until I met those who truly understand root cause analysis, who truly understands complex disease, that I start to tip my health meter forward. And I attribute these professionals to helping save my life. The first time I saw an integrative doctor, she literally prescribed me clean water, no more antibiotics, yoga, and green smoothies. That was perfect for me at that time. So while I was this close to losing it all by well-meaning, misinformed professionals, I also said yes to immune-boosting vaccines, which led to months in bed, years lost, and a significant cognitive decline that I hope is not permanent. So how do I know it's vaccines? Why am I even mentioning that? Well, it's pretty simple. The group of doctors who were unable to get me better, who tried, who referred me out to other professionals, who shrugged their shoulders, who said everything is fine according to the blood tests, who potentially made recommendations that further impeded my health. None of these professionals mentioned vaccines. And the group of doctors in this camp who all made significant recommendations and significantly meaningful recommendations to put me on the path to wellness, all made a comment somewhere in our relationship that I may want to consider that vaccines were part of what got me there. I didn't believe it either, but After consulting with immunologists and scientists and other doctors, I've done my research, I am an adult vaccine injury. So it's not just vaccines. There was numerous other issues. There was mycotoxins and mold and heavy metals and off-gassing from memory foam mattresses and a long list, multiple chemical sensitivity, chronic fatigue. There was a lot, which is what is often the root cause of these complex diseases. I'm also not a canary. It's not an N=1 sample set. Up to 30% of us are genetically predisposed to a lot of these symptoms. I could be entitled to financial reimbursement, but Congress passed an act in 1986 that doctors and vaccine manufacturers cannot be sued. So, question, if your baby seat manufacturer was exempt from being sued, would you buy that baby seat? Would you trust that manufacturer? At my worst, that's how low my testosterone was. So there's this vaccine injury compensation program, and they've given out $3 billion since 1988. Compensation's funded by us, the consumer, not by the manufacturer. I call it a secret court because you probably didn't know about it until right now. There's been minimal coverage by the media, but it begs the question, are vaccines really safe? So I learned integrative medicine techniques to heal and strategies, and I aligned with a healing community, integrative doctors, naturopathic physicians, functional medicine doctors. I became a yoga teacher, a health coach, an empowered patient. I took my power back. I literally signed up to be a yoga teacher because I saw one website that said yoga historically can cure disease. And these are some of the classes that I've taught over the year. Now here's the thing, while I almost died, many already have. Now think of someone in your life. Think of someone in your life that you really love. Now imagine one of you has chronic disease and the other is a caretaker. And how does that make you feel? The reason I ask that is because that's where we are today. 49% of America has at least one chronic disease, and look where we're headed. And cancer. So what have we learned? What have I learned? We've learned that our gut health is almost everything. 80% of our immune is in our gut. 80% of the neurotransmitter serotonin, our happiness drug, is in our gut. So antibiotics, yes, they do kill infections quickly, but maybe they are being recommended way too often because while they do kill the bad bacteria, they also wipe out the good. Superbugs of antibiotic resistance is one of the world's most pressing healthcare problems. C-sections, also life-saving, also helpful, but not without their consequence. They leave babies from day one with a compromised microbiome for life. Those immunosuppressants and biologics I mentioned, yes, they're helpful, but they come with the FDA black label warning, which is the highest of their warnings for adverse effects, and it's often the standard of care. Ulcerative colitis patients are still being told today that surgery of their colon cures their ulcerative colitis. That's simply not true because the recurrence rate afterwards is super high. Perhaps it's because the root cause is not being addressed. So we have our work cut out for us. We're like the salmon swimming upstream to return home to a world of health and happiness and increased life expectancy and decreased rate of disease with persuasive marketing with integrity. It's a conscious community like you guys and conscious community existing all throughout the world who operate with intention, mindfully, and with integrity, not just when it's convenient, but always. Why am I putting the pieces together? Well, if 95% of disease begins in our gut, then let's get gutsy together. Because we're at the precipice of a healthcare revolution. Companies, products, services, health professionals, marketing with integrity to return us back to wellness. Imagine for a moment you're sitting on that rocking chair on your front porch. this is maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 decades from now, watching your children play in the front yard in a world free of disease. Who wants to join me in that world? So last year, I founded a for-benefit company to up-level transparency, to up-level accountability, with increased impact over income, legacy over currency. So with these medical professionals that I mentioned, it's a collaborative effort. We, the patients, can take our power back working with them. I never imagined myself to be in this position. But if not me, who? And if not now, when? So this is the invitation to join me, to be a superhero, because everyone here has the opportunity to be that superhero. Something that you can do pragmatic every day is be intentional with where you spend your money, because our dollar is worth more than our vote. So some things we can do, maybe drive 10 minutes past the processed food restaurant to an organic restaurant, a farm-to-table restaurant, the farmer's market, because those restaurant owners probably understand what nutritional labels mean and say that I'd mentioned earlier. Working outside of insurance, aka sit care, also is helpful. Working with integrative, naturopathic, functional, because you'll get a much longer visit into your health, 60 or 90 minutes sometimes. And many of these professionals are now accepting insurance. So I am taking a stand. I am your community. This is my commitment. I am here for you. Remember my testosterone I mentioned earlier? The last time I had it checked, 850. This stuff works. So this is what miracles look like. These individuals, against all odds, have found curative techniques outside of mainstream medicine. They took their power back into their own hands. They've all been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. I stand for Dr. Paul and Megan and Dane and Joey, and I stand for you and your health and your happiness and your family's health and your children's health. I stand for you because the cure is community.